Guys, there are spoilers for this film and this review, and I prefer not to spoil it for you, so go out, watch the film, then come back. You have been warned. Hey guys, welcome back to another week of Ticket Tuesday. I'm your host, Ronan Time HD, so yeah, this is going to be a great time. Hey guys, and welcome back to an episode of Ticket Tuesday. I'm your host, Runtime HD, and this week we watched The Bride, the new Maggie Gyllenhaal film starring Jessie, Buckley, and Christian Bale. And I will say, I would say I have mixed feelings. I feel like overall I didn't really like it. They had some good ideas, but I feel like it didn't really commit to them, and it could have been better. But before I go on a whole tangent, why I wasn't really a huge fan of this film, I'll tell you why and more. Back to the house.
An accident, huh?
We dug you up, and we brought you back to life.
What did you want with a dead girl?
I'm the same, born from the dead. I am a monster.
Yeah, so am I.
The bride of Frankenstein.
No, just the bride.
Hey guys, and welcome back to an episode of Ticket Tuesday. I'm your host, Ronan Time HD, and this week we watched The Bride, the new Maggie Gyllenhaal film, an adaptation of the original Mary Shelley classic written in 1818, over 200 years ago. This film is starring Jessie Buckley as the titular bride, Christian Bale as the monster. It is also featuring Peter Sarsgaard, Penelope Cruz, Annette Bening, and a cameo from Jake Gyllenhaal. This film is a sci-fi horror love story. It's like a good way to describe it. And I'm just gonna jump right into this. I had a lot of problems with this movie. And I think, in general, I didn't really like it all too much. And I'm just going to be square with you. I wasn't a huge fan. Or, you know what I mean. I wasn't a huge fan of it. And I think, my main reason for disliking it was I feel like just the story itself felt really, muddied. It felt really muddled. Because there was, the main... obviously, what the main focus of the movie should have been the bride and the monster, Jessie Buckley and Christian Bale, on the run from the police, from the angry mob, right, being on the run from them, because, they're monsters and they run away from that kind of stuff all the time. And that's just more interesting. But then they have all these weird subplots that just don't really add anything to the movie. There's this weird mobster side plot that really doesn't need to be in the movie. There's Mary Shelley is in the movie, the author of the original story that I mentioned earlier. She's in it, and she's, possessing the girl that is reanimated into the bride. And she's it's a split personality thing. And they never really go into detail or really explain why or how or what, really. And she doesn't add anything to the movie. If you cut the Mary Shelley interjections and the Mary Shelley segments of the movie, it wouldn't have really changed anything. That was definitely one of my least favorite parts of the movie, because it just didn't, I don't know, I just wasn't a fan of it. And then there was also this weird subplot with Peter Sarsgaard and Penelope Cruz that I just didn't care about. Obviously they should have cops or a detective chasing them, but I feel like they got a little too much focus. I just didn't really care about either of them. I really just wanted to see the bride and the monster. That's all I really cared about. I'm watching a Frankenstein movie for Frankenstein's monster, right? In a bride movie, I'm watching it for the bride. Okay, I don't care about the detectives and the whatever he's doing or his obsession of whatever. I don't care. I just want to see the monsters. That's all I care about. And I just think they got a little too much focus. And overall, I think there were too many subplots that, in my opinion, didn't really add anything to the movie. And I think it could have just, in my opinion, I wish the film was more about a crime story, which it really wasn't. I mean, yeah, there was crime in it, but like, yeah, they kill people. That's a crime, but that's a bunch of movies. Like, if there wasn't like crime, and I think like a monster movie, like a Bride of Frankenstein type movie that's about, you know, like a, maybe not a Bonnie and Clyde type thing, but where like they're robbing people, you know, they're like scoundrels, they're thieves, right? Like, I think that's an interesting concept, right? Like, they have to, you know, they have to be criminals to survive because the outside world doesn't accept them. So they, like, you know, big fuck you to the outside world by, you know, saying fuck you to the system, right? That kind of idea I think is interesting. But again, they don't do that. And it's more of just like them on the run, which again is not a problem. But I just feel like I wanted it to be more focused on. And obviously there was the love story between the bride and the monster, which, I mean, you guys know me. I'm not a big guy into romance stories, but I thought it was decent. But again, that love story is kind of muddied by the weird Mary Shelley stuff and the weird detective stuff and the, you know, the weird mob stuff. It's muddied up with all that nonsense when it could have just been the main focus of the movie. I mean, but there's like a couple things that I mean, I thought the movie looked fine. I thought, like, for the most part, I think in general, Jessie Buckley and Christian Bale did a good job. I think that they had decent chemistry. I think they gelled well on the screen, on the silver screen. But again, I don't know. It just didn't click for me. Maybe that's like a running trend with a lot of the movies I'm reviewing lately. Is just like, I don't know. I guess it just didn't grab my full attention. You know, I like an hour into the movie, I'm like, okay, are we almost done with this? Because again, I feel like the movie felt a little too long. Too, I'm like, there were so many points in the movie where I'm like, oh my god, we're still going with this. Like, they drew out some stuff, and I don't know. I get like the whole like feminist angle about how, you know, Mary Shelley, when she originally wrote the short story, like in 1818, obviously women were not like respected at all in basically any field, right? It was like very much like everything was basically very much male dominated and women were very looked down upon. So I understand they're like doing that feminist angle because, I mean, one of the most iconic pieces of modern literature was written by a woman, right? That's quite an accomplishment. And I understand them adding like the feminist angle, like how she has like this whole speech at this like dance, and that speech sparks like a revolution, right? But then again, they still don't really touch on that all too much, right? They just kind of like mention it in passing, and then at the very end they bring it up again, right? And it doesn't really have much to do with the main story at hand. It's just kind of a thing that happens, and then they move on, right? And it's like referenced here and there at the very end of the movie. And I think maybe that should have gotten more focus than the weird Mary Shelley shit, or the weird mob story, or the weird obsession with the detective. Maybe that should have gotten more of a focus instead of, because that at least has something to do with the main plot line and what they're trying to say. Like, I mean, yeah, they were trying to do that with the detective stuff too, but it just felt, I don't know, it felt like they were laying it on a little heavy, right? Like how, like, I don't know, I don't have a problem with these messages. The message is not the problem, it's the way they delivered it, right? I'm perfectly fine with this message in itself. I'm perfectly fine with it. I just think they didn't execute it properly, and I think it just comes off as awkward, right? And maybe that's just me. Maybe that's a problem with me instead of the movie. But I just think I mean, I'm not a writer, right? So I'm not going to say that I could have laid the message better, but I'm just saying maybe they could have done it better, right? I don't know better. Maybe they know better. They probably know better than me because I'm not a professional writer, right? I don't know this stuff. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just standing on my high horse here. I don't know. Either way, I just think in general that this film was kind of mediocre. It was like average, and well, probably the biggest issue for me, especially, is it just wasn't what I wanted, right? And that's more a problem with me than a problem with the movie. But as you guys have heard, I wanted more like a crime, like thriller, like with monsters in it, and it was more of just kind of like a dramatic love story, which obviously I knew that there was going to be the love story angle, but essentially what I'm saying wasn't what I wanted, and I just wasn't happy with it. Which again, problem with me, not the movie, but still, it's my review. So that's my main problem with it. It's just not my kind of movie. It's not my cup of tea. And with that being said, I don't really think I would recommend this movie. I think, like, if you want a better Frankenstein adaptation, just go back to the original 1931 Universal classic. I mean, it's one of the best. It's iconic for a reason. And if you want a better Bride movie, there's the one that this is an adaptation of, Bride of Frankenstein. Go watch that one. I mean, I'm just saying. Not to snide this movie, I just think there are plenty of better Frankenstein movies out there. And with that being said, with all that being said, lay it out onto the table. What would I rate this film? You know, I think I would rate this film a 5.5 out of 10. And, yeah, I think I've said what I say. Thank you for my piece. So, guys, I hope you like this video. Share it with friends. Subscribe. Turn those notifications on. Comment down below on how much you liked it. But you guys know how it goes. I didn't really mean to say that. What I really meant to say, if you guys hated this video, unsubscribe, dislike, and tell me how much you hate me in the comments. I forgot to wear my fucking hat. Well, I'm wearing my hat now. And I've been Runtime HD. Oh, fuck. What was even the ending line? And I've been Runtime HD. Off to the cemetery to dig up my soulmate. And I fucking forgot to wear the hat again. How many times do I forget that these days? That's like twice in the last month. Why don't you guys tell me? You're like, Ronan, put your hat on. You need to, that's something you need to start doing. Leave it down in the comments. You forgot your hat on. You forgot your... I don't even know what that means, but you guys need to comment that right now. You forgot your hat on. So I was watching this movie, right, and it ended, right? So it ended, and then the credits started playing, and the Monster Mash started playing. It wasn't no, like, shitty remix either. It was the original classic Monster Mash, and that song is a banger. That's a classic right there. Halloween classic. I listen to it every year. So, the fact that it's the most inspired thing in the movie. You have a movie about Frankenstein and the Bride of Frankenstein, or just the Bride, and you have the Monster Mash in the credits. That's cinema right there. That is the... I'm not gonna lie, that was my favorite part of the movie, was Monster Mash in the credits. And somebody tried to act like it was a bad thing. It's like, you know, it's like you're trying to give me reasons to watch the movie instead of not watching the movie. I don't know, I'm just thinking it was good. It was a graveyard smash.